Welcome to Up Close and Personal with one of my favorite actresses, June Squibb, who happens to live in my complex. Hey, June, how are you?
I'm good, Malcolm. Thank you.
And by the way, this is Malcolm Berman, and you're listening to us on malcolmpresents.com, which can be heard around the world. So, June, if you have any relatives in
I have relatives in the Netherlands.
you give them my website, and they can hear you. So say hello.
I will.
Anyway, June,
Let me actually say hello right now.
you say hello to whatever the Netherlands people are.
Hello, Pat and Willie in the Netherlands.
A big shout out. Anyway, as I was saying, as we were talking before the show, that you live in my complex. But I knew you were an actress, but I didn't remember, what I had seen you in until Nebraska came out. And you said it was in 2012 that you shot it.
We shot it in 2012 and it came out in 2013.
Right. And then all of a sudden, you're a star. And I know
Right.
And I know you've been.
And don't you forget it, Malcolm.
Well, do I have to bow, or I've been watching?
No.
I've been watching The Queen.
Oh.
So, but I
a lot of bowing in that.
Do I have to bow and kiss your ring?
Right.
But again, you've been acting. I see your resume, and you've been acting since what? About 1960 or before?
Oh, before. I was at the Cleveland Playhouse for all of the 50s, and I was paid for that. It was a regional theater. And I went there in 1950. 1950, and I stayed 5 years and then went to New York. And so I was working in New York even in the late 50s.
Yeah, you were with. Well, by the way, this is part 2. There's a part 1 you can go back to, because we talked about Gypsy.
Yes, we did.
That was one of your big shows. With
that was my first Broadway show, so it was important in that respect. And it was also one of the biggest shows, I think, biggest musicals, most popular musicals, and it had a lot to do historically with the history of Broadway. Things sort of shifted. It was a musical that had a lot of darkness to it.
Well, there was a lot of darkness. There was a lot of darkness in the life of Gypsy Rose Lee. Because, as I said, which was played by brilliantly by. Well, who's in the play?
I can't remember the original girl's name. We had a girl named Anne Marie, who I did with most of the time in New York, and I did the road company, and she did that.
Because I know Natalie Wood played it in the movies.
The movies, yeah.
And Rosalind Russell played the part of Ethel Merman, the mother. And I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Who is the lead actor? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
But anyway, that was big time. I mean, what I found strange. I'm originally from New York, and I used to go to a lot of Broadway. The Broadway people, the celebrities in New York, nobody knows. You have to get into the movies where you get
or television. One of the you have to get in front of a camera.
Yeah, but there's so many wonderfully talented people that are on Broadway, and unless you go to Broadway shows, you don't know who they are.
No, you don't. And you also, you're not, unless you live in New York, you're not aware of off-Broadway and what that is, how strong that is, how important that is, and the kind of shows that have been done there. It's a very New York thing, live theater is.
I love off-Broadway because you're so close to the actors. You're almost watching them. I don't know if we discussed it in the last show, but I had a friend of mine, Ron Silva, and the few times he was on Broadway, and I was living in Los Angeles, but I'd go to the show, and of course I'd go to the dressing room before the show, and he's my friend Ron Silver. I go to my seat, and he's in the play, and I don't know who the hell he is. I don't know how he puts on that character.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he
recognize it.
No, I recognized him,
Yeah.
but I didn't recognize the person, so to speak, his persona.
Yeah.
He transformed himself to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. That's much more prevalent on stage than film, I think. In film, I think we many times, use so much of ourselves. It's such an intimate look at us through a camera.
What do you like better, stage or
It's not a question of liking better. They're different, and I like all of them. I'm happy to be doing film now for a lot of different reasons. I've started doing this voiceover thing, and I've been able to do that at home during the pandemic. And I enjoy stage still, but it takes a lot more energy. It is, and you're there every night except one night of the week. And it's a lot more energy to do a stage show than it is to do a film.
Well, I have a brief experience with a stage, because I used to, I didn't direct, I produced commercials and back when you were doing them in the, well, actually it was in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s.
I was doing them then, yeah.
Yeah, and I took a course at HB Studios, Herbert Bergdorf, down in the Village. And I would get nervous doing a scene in front of my classmates. My stomach would get into, the night before, my stomach would get into knots the day before. I can imagine when you appeared in front of a live audience. Did you always feel comfortable?
No, I think, when you're starting a show, it's difficult. And going through the dress rehearsals and the openings are difficult. And it takes its emotional toll on you, without a doubt, it does.
Because I remember an interview with Maureen Stapleton, and she says she threw up. Basically,
yeah, she was notorious for that. Somehow, I worked with Bobby Lewis. He taught class, and he was telling stories about her. He had set up an audition for her for some Broadway show, and she'd never done a Broadway show before. And she went in and she got herself so nervous that she had to throw up. So she ran off the stage and left the audition, and she never auditioned because of that.
And she was such a magnificent actress.
Oh, she was a great actress, yeah.
So now, once you came to, why did you come to LA again?
My agent, I had an agent who had both an office in New York and LA, but he was out here. He was in LA. And he had wanted me to come out he came out here in the 70s, and he wanted me to come out here then, and I never did. And then after, I guess it was after doing About Schmidt, I came out here for the premiere. And while I was out here, he set up an audition for me for ER, and I got it. So that meant coming back to do that. And he said, well, you might as well stay for a while. So I had planned on staying for a little while, and I kept getting television jobs, just one after the other. So I just, it proved to me that I could work out here, I guess, more than anything.
Yeah, was the pay better there on television than I know Broadway is notoriously low.
The what?
The pay rate for Broadway actors are notoriously low.
Television and film is higher than the stage, almost always.
Right, plus residuals.
Yes, and that's very nice. Yeah.
Well, you said About Schmidt, you were working with Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How was that? I mean, did you have any experience with him?
He was great. No, he was wonderful. And he was just great to me. He really was. I was such a, I had done maybe 3 or 4 films, feature films in my life. And he was just great. I can't say enough about him in terms of how he treated me and an acting partner. He was a genuine acting partner. And that,
yeah. Did you run into him here in Los Angeles?
Have, during Nebraska, actually, because he and Bruce Dern are good friends. Mm-hmm. And so he hosted one of our screenings for Bruce. And he was around a little bit, because of Bruce, not because of me, but because of Bruce. They're very good friends.
Yeah, Bruce seems like the only thing I remember about Bruce is I've done some marathons, and Bruce was a marathon runner.
He was a runner. He still is a runner. He was when we were working together. Yeah.
And how about you also with the movie with Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino?
With Al Pacino. He was wonderful. I have just, it's funny because I go into these things sort of wide-eyed. I always have, and I guess I always will. And it never occurs to me that I should make a decision about anyone, until I've had the experience of working with them. Pacino was great, and it was exciting to see him work. It really was. I had nothing basically with him. My stuff was with Chris O'Donnell and the wonderful, what is it? Michael. No, the guy, a young actor that died. Mm-hmm. He died of an overdose. Mm. He was a wonderful actor, and all of my stuff is with them, the 2 young boys in the show.
Yeah,
I watched Pacino work on set, and it was exciting. It was something to see.
Yeah, after I met you and we were speaking, and all of a sudden, mm-hmm. I didn't remember you in the movie, but mm-hmm. I'm watching it where they go to the school.
Yeah.
It's like tried in a school, and then they meet, and then you come out to speak, and they say, "That's June."
Yes, that was, I think, my 2nd or 3rd film. Yeah, I guess my 3rd film.
For Nebraska, did you have to audition for that, or did they know you?
I did. Well, I had done About Schmidt with Alexander Payne, who directed both of them. And I think I told you this story, didn't I?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I did tell you about it, about him wanting to see a tape. And my agents were wonderful. They kept pushing them to see me, and they kept saying, he thought I was the woman from About Schmidt, and so he didn't think I was right at all for Nebraska.
Yeah. That was an hilarious role.
Yeah, it was a great role. It was well written. That was a beautifully written role and a beautifully written film script.
And it was well directed.
Yes, yeah.
And of course, that one famous scene that you have that shan't be reported, I shouldn't say now, mm-hmm. but go see the movie and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That must have been funny. How do you feel like when you use like the language sometimes, the cursing and things, do you feel funny doing it, or is that natural?
I feel perfectly comfortable. I've always cursed in my own life. My father was a bit of a cursor, and I picked it up. My mother used to be appalled. She would say, "Oh my God, you sound just like your father." But I very early on in life, I used curse words, so it's been no great shock to me.
Well, I found something in the last 4 years, which I find women are cursing more now, basically because of Trump.
I think we're pushed towards it, Malcolm.
I mean, basically,
there's a lot to curse about. Yeah, a lot to have cursed about.
The Trump administration, I've heard my wife say words I've never heard in 20 years. Say.
Yeah.
Now, after you were nominated for the mm-hmm. Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, how did life change for you, or did it?
It did greatly, yes. I did not, I haven't auditioned for a role since. And that for an actor is like, oh my God, I don't have to audition again.
It's heaven.
You spent your whole life going to auditions, audition. And I sang in New York, so I did singing auditions as well as acting auditions. So I was up to here with auditions, but that was the great perk of having an Academy nomination, that you're offered roles. Now, I audition for voiceovers. I have a wonderful young man, Zach Kaplan, and he is my voiceover agent. And I send it, but we do it here at home and on the phone. Even before the pandemic, we did it on the phone here at home. So you don't go anywhere for them, so it's easy.
But do you miss going?
No, God, no. As I said, I did my share, Malcolm. I've done my share of auditions.
Now, do you do any voiceovers for commercials?
No. I did. I never was big of voiceovers in New York. I did a lot of on-camera commercials, but I don't do them now.
Well, you should push I used to produce TV commercials back, as I said, back in the 70s for an agency called Daniel and Charles. And we used to do a lot of voiceovers, where we shot the commercial and then the voice would come in. Those guys are making a bloody fortune.
Well, I've never been that. I don't know why in New York. I did audition for a few, but I was never very good because you had to be so technical. You had to do it in this minute and that minute and all this, and I'm not good at that. So, but I've enjoyed now doing the cartoons. It's great fun.
Just a brief story. I went to a luncheon one time with Herschel Bernardi. And he was talking about doing commercials, and he was Charlie the Tuner and several other famous characters.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Right. And they asked him, how come they hire him? How come he does so well? He said, it's very simple being an actor for commercials. He said, all you have to do is read 60 seconds worth of copy in 30 seconds, sounding warm and sincere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't good at the 60 minutes and 30-second part of it. I was never good at that. So I did on-camera commercials, a lot of them. And I had some that ran, quite a while. So I can't complain about that. But the voiceover, I never did that much anyway.
Well, now I hear you constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm turning on TV and I'm not paying attention. Generally, I use television like the radio. I grew up with television.
And my brother turn it on and leave it on all day.
Right. Yeah. My brother is used to a radio. He's a little bit older than me, so he's 10 years older. So he'd turn on the radio, do his homework, and do this when he got home. I would turn on television, and that was my background music. So I still do that today. And all of a sudden, I won't be paying attention. I'll hear a voice. So, Anna, that's June Squibb.
Well, I have a lot, I guess, that runs at different times. Do you remember an old TV series called Ghost Whisperer?
Which Whisperer?
Jennifer Love Hewitt, a Ghost Whisperer.
No.
I think it was CBS. I'm not sure. CBS, yeah. And that runs all over the world somewhere, all the time. I shot quite a few of them. I was recurring on that.
Yeah.
And so but I keep getting residuals from that from all over the world.
Are you the ghost?
No, well, I am actually, yes. I was her grandmother, but I saw ghosts before I died. And then I died, and then she sees me and sees ghosts. Yeah.
I think I've seen some sort of films like that.
Yeah.
I see dead people.
But it ran for quite a few, I think 4 or 5 years, maybe more here before. And now it shows, it's always showing somewhere.
Yeah, my wife fell in love with this sitcom, old sitcom, the Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
Oh, the old
sitcom that's been on.
Yeah.
And I like the original movie with Rex Harrison.
I remember.
Who played the ghost. So, are you again, so you're getting a lot of calls now for voiceovers. What cartoon character do you do?
I do one called Little Ellen, and it's Ellen DeGeneres as a 6-year-old. And Ellen is one of the producers of it. And I'm her Gramsy in it. And I'm in I guess I'm in every episode, really. And then I do one called The Fungies. And this above me is The Fungies. That was given to me on my birthday. One of the fungi animators drew it for me. We're mushrooms, and I'm a Gramsy in that, a Gramsy.
Gramsy.
And that shows on HBO Max, and Ellen is going to show on HBO Max because they were both Warner Brothers, produced both of them.
Yeah.
And I have a few that I've done like one episode of, or a few episodes, different ones like that.
How's it different doing like animated voices? Yeah, especially being in the house. How do you get prepared for it?
How do you get prepared?
Yeah, how do you psych yourself up to be in the house? And
well, it's just the script is there. That's what you work from anyway. So you just work from the script.
Yeah, but you have no contact with the other actors, or?
No, but we do Zoom, and so the director is there, and the guy doing the technical stuff is there, and usually there's one or two others, a producer, or maybe one of the writers will be there. So I talk to them.
So do you have it broken up into like 5-6 screens on the Zoom, or how does that work?
No, they just, as they want to say something, they come on. It's very simple, really.
Welcome
we go into the closet. That's where we do it. You
go into are you in the closet? I didn't want to ask you about your social life.
I'm in the room for you, but when we do that, just the voice, we're in the closet.
Wow, that would be a great sitcom about you doing your work you do, and all of a sudden you're hired and you're out, and then all of a sudden, excuse me, I have to go to work, and you go into the closet.
Into the closet.
Yeah. It's a new world out there.
Yeah.
Now, again, I know. Well, I know your age. Do you still have a social life? Go out or?
I did. Yes, I went out to dinner a lot, which is what I used to do in New York. I always loved that, all the great restaurants. And now there's so many great restaurants in Los Angeles that it's quite fun going out to dinner. And that's basically what I did before this thing happened.
Do you go to shows here? I mean,
I did.
When you come into town?
Yes, at the Pantages. We've had tickets for Hamilton twice now, I think, because they keep canceling it. I do. I go to the Pantages. And when I first got out here, my agent was still very active and went to a lot of the small theaters. And I went with him to a lot. So when I was first out here in the early 2000s, I saw a lot of small theater.
Yeah, that's been the big thing since I've been out here. That's increased a lot. When I first came out here in the late 70s, there was no small theaters.
Yeah.
Or there were some.
The Geffen is a wonderful theater. I've seen some absolutely wonderful things there.
But you were talking about the Pantages. For some reason, depending on the show, big musical, fine. But if it's a dramatic show or drama, I cannot go to the Pantages unless I'm sitting up front because it's so damn big. I know it was originally a movie theater.
Yeah.
And Broadway, if you haven't been to Broadway is more tiered. So there's the low, there's the balconies, there's the loge, and then there's the orchestra. So you're right close to actors. At the Pantages, it's almost like watching a movie, but you can't see the people as close. Yeah. That's at least my estimation.
No, I mean, I don't think I have thought that much about it. Yeah. I like the Pantages, really. I've been there for different things in the lobby. I went to a memorial in the lobby and different things that they hold in the lobby.
The nicest, by the way, that I don't know if you were around when the Ambassador Auditorium was in Pasadena. That was a beautiful.
I don't know that.
I used to go to. I used to be an account executive for a classical music station, KFAC, and we got tickets to everything. Anything came into town, we did trades, and especially if it was classical. So I've seen, the top classical musicians in the world appear in Los Angeles.
I must say, I've seen quite a few operas at the center, music center. And the Amundsen is a great theater. And the little one I like too. Those are good theaters, I think.
There was one, I forget which one, is the Theater in the Round.
The small one.
Yeah. And I've seen,
or the Amundsen. No, not the Amundsen.
No, the Amundsen's a big one.
I worked the Amundsen when it first opened. I don't think I was not the first show in there. Happy Time. We came out here to rehearse because Gower Champion lived out here. So we rehearsed and opened it at the Amundsen. And it was a very new theater. That whole complex was very new. Well, I think it was in the 70s.
Yeah, I think it was in the 70s or early 80s. I don't know. I don't remember. Because I think it was, I don't remember whether they were building it when I came out in 77. I don't know whether they were building it then or it had been opened already.
I think it would have been the late 70s that I was out here for that.
Now, as we're talking, how does it feel to be recognized? To be out in public and over.
It's fine. I mean, it's nice. Well, a lot of people come up, I guess my age for one thing, they come up and kind of whisper, "I like your work," something like that. But it's lovely. I mean, it's lovely to know that people appreciate what you do.
Yeah. Well, the most difficult thing in living in Hollywood is when, as I said before, going to a good restaurant or a fine restaurant, and you sit down and you're having dinner, and all of a sudden some celebrity comes in, whether it be yourself, could be Paul Newman, or when he was around, or Jack, or Al Pacino, and you have to sit down there eating your dinner without staring at them.
Some people don't do that too well, I'll tell you. No, you do get stared at, but you get used to it too. I mean, it's something that you just sort of live with,
Yeah, you lose your privacy, though. I think the more famous you get.
You do, yeah. I don't have, I go to a grocery store that people are always coming up to me and saying they like my work. So but I've never had a problem.
You never had.
But I think that too is probably my age, Well,
I don't think. Well, you have a young personality.
Well, yes. Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain people. I have certain friends. I remember growing up when they were 25, they were old.
Yeah. No, it's true.
It's people that say, people who say, "Been there, done that."
Yeah.
Your life is boring. Like I cannot see. I love sunsets. No matter how many sunsets I see, I love them. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
I can't. And then you speak to people. It's another sunset. But they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's the attitude you have. You have the zest for life, which I love about you.
Well, nothing is ever the same to me. It really isn't.
Yeah, well, that's part of your experience, I think, in the theater. It's like
I guess so. Yeah.
I think each performance is different. Yeah, like even though, what's the longest run you've ever done on a Broadway show or not Broadway?
Over a year.
And you still have excitement when you go out to do it?
I mean, truly with stage, and it's true with film too, to a certain extent. each time you're, on stage is different. Each time you're in front of a camera, it's different. Each take is different. But that again, my mindset, I've always been that way. I sometimes would have trouble. I would forget how to sit in a chair because my mind doesn't register. Oh, I know this chair. I know how to sit in it. So I get all discombobulated trying to sit down. And this happens to me, but that's the way my mind works.
Well, that's good, I think.
Well, I think it is too. And sometimes I get, all screwed up, but most of the time it works.
Well, again, when I started in the entertainment industry, I worked for WNEW Channel 5 in New York.
Mhm.
I was behind the camera. I was like studio supervisor, but that was live television. Everything, that went over the air. You couldn't say stop.
Yeah.
Cut. Let's
I
watch it.
did some live television when I first got to New York. There was still some live television.
What did you do?
Some big shows. I can't remember what they were at this point, but like some hour shows that were live.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the shows because there was a lot of drama on it in those days.
Mm-hmm.
That was
That's
live.
what I did. Yeah.
And I
would run from one set to the other.
Yeah. Well, I guess have you ever done any soap operas?
Yes.
Which one?
I did some in New York. I did All My Family. I did all of them that worked in New York. And out here, I did, what did I do, Kelly? The CBS, one of the CBS shows. And I was on that for a year.
Ah.
Yeah. I played a waitress, yeah.
You played a waitress?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the waitress, you probably worked in Dupars.
Yeah, you're right. No, this was, oh gosh, the wonderful woman was the lead in it. She has since passed away. I think the show's still going though.
Could be.
But I was on that for a year. That's the longest I ever did.
But
I usually did 4 or 5 a month, something like that.
It's funny because I see certain shows, certain sitcoms, either me or my wife say, June should have that role. Would you be interested in getting a reoccurring role, in a sitcom or something that would be more full-time?
I've done recurring. If I did a regular, which means you're on every time, it would have to be a hell of a script before I, would think it would be worth doing.
Or a hell of a lot of money.
Well, yeah, that too.
I mean, because they have some of these shows that have run forever.
Yes. Yeah. No, I've done some of them, and it's interesting to do one of those big shows in its later years, because to them it's every bit as important as it was the first time they did it.
Uh-huh.
I must say I admire, the work that some of those people do, some of those actors that have been on a show for years.
Well, believe it or not, June, we've talked about 35 minutes and our time is up.
Okay, well,
it's been fun.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah, I might have to get you back for a third time. There's so much I enjoy talking to you about.
Malcolm, we'll see time-wise. We're getting busy again.
And I love theater. I love the fact that you could do it. I wish I could without throwing up or getting nervous. I admire you so much, especially where you can get different characters.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, the pandemic. We got rid of Trump today. We'll get rid of the pandemic in another month or two. Have you taken your shot yet?
No, I'm trying. I'm calling all the pharmacists I know.
Well, you should get being a national treasure.
Yeah, and my age, they all tell me, with your age, you'll be one of the first, but nobody has it.
Yeah. Well, aside from your age, with what you've done, with as
Yes,
far
oh,
as
thank you. They're so
Anyway,
worried. They don't know what they're doing, Malcolm.
yeah. Anyway, June, thank you very much. And Kelly, I know you're
Okay.
in the background. Thank you for
Yeah, she'll
setting this
turn
up.
it off for us.
Okay,
See
bye.
ya.
We're out.